Okay, can I be heard?
Yep.
Right. Give me a second. Just let me fetch my timer quickly. We think that beauty positive is way against what is intended for feminism. Because imagine that the same movement that used to tell you that all bodies are beautiful are now telling you that all bodies can swallow Ozempic if they want to. This is something that is extremely problematic, noticing the fact that I think a lot of people in status quo have been gearing up to embrace their own selves, embrace their own bodies, embrace their merit instead, as opposed to their bodies as probably because of birth lottery, because they cannot access a lot of these things, but now they've been weaponized against those their own intent and try to achieve another goal. We think that this is extremely suffocating, just as how it used to be for women. Now it's going to shift again back to the old traditional standards. This is why we do not intend to embrace beauty positive feminism. This was why we oppose the rise of it, right? Two things before I move on to my substantives in this speech, right? One, what is the intended goal of feminism? Feminism intends to remove three things. One, any sorts of inequalities, which includes standards imposed not by oneself but by other people. Two is unequal and inaccessible treatments and facilities towards women. And three, to eliminate the degradation towards women in any sorts of forms, like we were talking about the treatment towards other people and also the intention that people have towards themselves, to hate themselves, etc. But number two, what does the rise look like, right? And why is this problematic? I'm going to talk about the problematic part later, but like the rise here looks like the increase of influencers, people around you, your friends, family, telling you that it's okay to attempt to attain beauty, whichever you wish for it to be. Like people on the internet, a lot of claim feminists on the internet telling you that it's okay for you to change your bodies the way that you want it to be, because at the very least you're able to become yourself eventually, in which this is basically trying to prove that people have to change their bodies in order for them to be themselves, which is not necessarily what is within the spirit of what feminism intends to be, right? But I want to frame this debate very quickly. So the goal of opposing in this debate is not necessarily about which one is the most instant procedure, but what I want to specifically tell you here is what does or how does the best income come about later on. So we're okay if we were to say that there are going to be gradual changes, but at the end of the day, we think that that's the most beneficial benefit that is yet to come. Let's talk about attainability in this debate, right? I want to talk about this off the bat on my speech. So, in what way or how is beauty positive feminism unattainable? So, it exists, or the hurdles exist in two ways. One, this latches to women on a significantly higher standard. Like if the end goal of feminism is to be free from the shackles of beauty, we think that currently in status quo, it's not latching, or these higher standards are not latching onto men as it is to women. So insofar as women are still shackled with the chains of a higher standard, like makeup, skincare, it is unjustified to see women allocating more money and extra hard work to look
Yeah,
acceptable or just presentable. The reason as to why this is so is because men can just go outside of their houses not wearing any types of skincare, not having to do any procedure, but then people are still going to see them as hardworking men. Like they tell you that, oh yeah, this man has gone to work, that's why his skin is troubled whatsoever. But for women, they're expected otherwise. So this is exactly why it's problematic. But especially because some people are not always able to cater to these social standards. Like some people are not pretty, some people are short, some people are not blonde with blue eyes. This is exactly what makes it very problematic. But this is the problem in which it persists, and that's why the higher standard still remains here. But number two, it further amplifies the objectification of women. Like the standards of beauty are getting higher with you allowing or like normalizing people having to change their bodies in the process. Why? Because everybody else is doing it. Like everybody else is capable of changing their bodies. So the judgment of women is very disheartening to see in this process. Like this problem manifests by taking away the focus from what men are measured from: character, attitude, and the output of work. Like women are no longer measured from this point. Instead, the talking point in discourse is that it's weaponized against women. Like women are now expected to just sit still, look pretty. You can just be beautiful because that's something that you can work hard for, or that's something that you can, just simply use your money for, and then after that it's end goal, which is different from men, because the standards for men to work hard is for them to build a family, is for them to build a house or to get a house whatsoever. This is extremely sexist, and you're amplifying this extremely patriarchal standards specifically towards um specific towards women in comparison to men. So Then, what happens with the absence of this feminism branch, right? We think that the counter narrative then becomes that it is okay to not be beautiful. Like, let's discard the concept of beauty entirely. How does this process look like, right? What's the step by step analysis here? Because it may be hard to imagine and it may take a long time. So, here's the thing unlearning, or like the shift of culture of unlearning, is a step by step thing. Like, it's not something that you can do in like 3 days or 3 months. Like it takes generations for you to do this. This is based off of historical analysis, where like back then the beauty standards are to have like slender waist, but also for you to have a cone-shaped foot in China, let's say, right? So this also comes with cultural influence and the way that other people influence one another on what is beautiful. So it changes with constant communication, with people constantly telling you that this is the kind or the type of beauty that you intend to look for. So it is easy when you're constantly deciding that we do not want to talk about beauty, but you are worthy as a person, irrespective of what you look like and irrespective of what you do to your body.
You're
So, what
right.
are the impacts here? Two things before I proceed. Yeah.
So does government team define this beauty positive feminism same like standards defined in 1900s?
Yeah, we think so. Because the reason as to why that is so is because now you have to get procedures just like how you have to in the 1900s using like the old methods that you need to twist and turn in your to your eyes or to your body, right? That's exactly why it's still problematic. But anyway, so the impact are two things. So with the unlearning process, one, you deconstruct a lot of these standards. Like at the very least, you make sure that women are not shackled without their consent to these standards, but two, you create less objectification by making sure that at the very least people know that it doesn't matter if you focus on the beauty part or not. So lastly, comparatively, why are other aspects more attainable in comparison to beauty? One, merit is something actionable. Like you can try to achieve like success through achieving scholarships by if you want to learn or you want to get a promotion, then work at your job the harder, or like you have to shine at your job better so you can get the proper position that you can get. But two, most importantly, merit is based on consent. Like there is self-actualization. You actively decide who you want to be. In comparison, beauty is not consented by the people. It's socially constructed. People are forced to swallow it the moment that they're bored. But not only are they not consented to be bored in their respective bodies, now they have to feel the pressure of wanting to escape out of that body because someone else expects them to be beautiful just like how they did in the 1900s. With that reason, we think it's very problematic. Oppose.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for that speech. To continue this debate, calling upon leader of opposition, time is yours.
Oh, am I audible?
Yep, Padua.
Okay. Wait, let me adjust like the lighting. Mm, Oh, my lighting still looks bad, but anyway. All right. QI, you can just raise hand. I don't think I can see the chat. And I'll probably accept in the 4th to 5th minute mark. All right. Sorry, my speech in 3, 2, 1. I think Prime Minister entirely mischaracterized when this wave of beauty positive feminism actually occurred. We're no longer living in the 2010s where bodies should only be thin, heroin chick like, and you can only have smoky eyes. We're no longer living in a Victorian era where you need to have like super thin, corseted ways in order for you to look beautiful and can be marched around the streets. If any, we start realizing how uncareful men are with their looks, so nobody realizes how unflattering they look when they're being misogynistic. And we're trying to be the better gender as women. We want characters like intelligence, hard work, and ambitions packed inside a Kerasta scared hair. So we're trying to tell you that this is a narrative that can coincide and go hand in hand with other beautiful positive traits that, let's say, girl boss feminism or like intersectional feminism try to also empower and induce in women. We're actually facing an unprecedented amount of freedom in defining beauty, and exactly why this beauty positive narrative still exists, because it's dictated by women, it's dictated by feminism. Because now we have slim thick Kardashians but also skinny like Bella Hadid. We have women pioneers who destroy beauty standards by championing inclusivity and 50 ranges of foundation shades like Rihanna and Selena Gomez, for example. We have Rihanna pioneering, plus size, plus size lingerie through Savage X Fenty. So I don't think the, oppression and like lack of choices is there. If any, women are flooded with countless of products where they can choose from in accordance to their needs, their price points, their formulation, their skin types, like, and also the type of looks that they wanted. I'm going to elaborate this further, but two things I'm going to talk about. One, I'm going to talk about why choice exclusively exists with this narrative, and second of all, how we actually create a self-perpetuating wave of inclusivity and dealing with, let's say, predatory marketing that perhaps government want to champion about. So on principle, why choice exclusively exists on this matter? So historically, women has no choice but to follow beauty standards, right? Because it was dictated by women. It was dictated by male gaze. It was dictated through how men view beauty and also what sexual appeals look like. But now we have the chance to reclaim and own it. Now women has thousands of choices of how beautiful can look like. It can look like no makeup look. It can look like heavy glam. It can look like euphoria glam wing. It can also look like choosing skin tint over foundation if you want to have natural look. And why does historically happen? Because back in the early 2020s or like prior to that, we have lots of shifts into inclusive beauty, right? Because we have prominent figures that has, let's say, have more voluptuous bodies, so it encouraged a more thick natural curve like body. So we're no longer just focused on like slim heroin chick like, but we also have waves of women celebrities, women who happen to be very, very much in power through social capital, but also financial capital, who break down these standards by creating products that are becoming the benchmark of inclusivity. We're talking about Rihanna and Selena Gomez here. We're facing unprecedented types of beauty product variations that women can choose through price points, formulations, styles. So that means it's not coerced, because you can choose product that suit you through any layers of circumstances and any layers of preference, like either price preference or formulation preference. Do you prefer something sticky or something that's more matte, for example? Do you prefer like something gloss or something that is locked in the dryness in your face, for example? You can have Sorex until Fenty and Savage. You have so many layers of options then. And exactly now, because of these pioneers, corporations, markets are there trying to raise to the bottom to capture this demand, and they're not in any way trying to coerce their marketing to these people. They want to adjust their marketing to these people. This is a process to reclaim confidence that's been taken away for centuries through corsets, ED, and everything else. Okay, yeah, just it.
This speech is a very wonderful speech for pitching an advertisement for a cosmetic company. Given that you now have a lot of consumer base, that means that you alone define standards of beauty, and you alone are able to monetize over the struggles of these individuals by calling them ugly otherwise.
Okay, number one, who says ugliness? Like, where in my speech today did I mention that the feminists will tell like fellow men, hey, you ugly, then you're not part of our subscribers or whatever? I think way we actually encourage women who perhaps don't fit into beauty standards to define what their selves deem as traits or like beautiful qualities. Like perhaps they feel specifically more beautiful in their nose, so they want to contour it so it becomes more prominent. Who knows? Like, and who cares? Like, this makes women actually feel good, because you feel worthy of respect when you wear of clothes that suit your body. You feel attractive and empowered. You can radiate your self identity through your own identity through makeup and fashion expression. That means, if you prefer, like, say, natural looks, you can radiate it through simple makeup to radiate your love of your skin and complexion. You feel in control of how you are seen and perceived by others. This is the type of control that women that for so long are craving. That means you have variations of sizes, materials, cuts, whatever. It makes you love your body because you now find stuff that flatter you. It promotes productivity as well, right? Let's say we're dealing with women being valued out of attractiveness as what government tried to portray. So the tone of this narrative cannot be twisted into that, oh, it doesn't dictate what's a good beauty positive and not, right? Feminists have full control of the narrative. And of course, feminists in no way have any intention to degrade other women. But face it, women face pressures at all times, but these are the type of pressure where they have the biggest control and agency upon, and in fact supports them throughout other correlating oppressions. Having a good hair gets you to survive shitty husband and messy child sitting, which are things that sometimes are out of women control, and feeling confident on your office look get you through the scary meeting when you have to present in front of the misogynistic shareholders. This is the narrative that the girl boss you all the way up, because other oppressions are structural that even feminists themselves struggle to eradicate and cannot promise they can eradicate it forever. This is the personal tool that at least feminists can can offer to protect these women so they can get through the day and get through the oppressions that we can never know will ever be solved or not, because these are the things that keep them confident and keep them grounded and keep them feeling valuable throughout other messy things in the world that want to tell them that they're a worthless piece of women. Lastly, how this is a self-perpetuating wave of inclusivity, right? You have more choices because it's the most intersectional type of feminism. It transcends through teens, adult, rich influencer, or even middle-class girl bosses. That means you can galvanize mass support and market power to demand what product is right or not, what product is progressive or not, what product is inclusive or not. That means choice works. You can do consumer protests and call out. That's why we have influencer calling out so many uninclusive brands. Very proud to oppose.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition, for that speech. To continue this debate, calling upon Deputy Prime Minister, time is yours.
Hello, am I audible?
Yep, audible.
All right. POI to argue there. It's interesting that opposition wants to run a case that beauty is now expanded, not just as focusing on thin-waisted women, but also on plus-sized women or women with pimples or all of those things, without mentioning how feminism is able to achieve those particular expansion of beauty standards. The road in which individuals are able to expand the beauty standards that is accepted by society is through constant criticism towards what beauty standards of current age look like. And that's why focusing and empowering beauty positive feminism is a betrayal towards the position that feminism has held for a long time, and a betrayal towards the progress that we have made in expanding beauty standards even further. What we argue here is important to be a voice of dissent, to always question and criticize and characterize beauty as not just the most important thing that women should have, but also to be wary of capitalism, who is trying to co-opt our movement and trying to derail us from focusing from the true equality that men and women needs to have in every aspect of life. This is why we propose. Two things I'm going to bring, right? One, I'm going to talk to you about who creates beauty positive feminism and why it's a betrayal towards our movement. But second, I'm going to flesh out some harm, right? Why then this narrative is harmful, because it requires a level of standards that is unattainable to most women, directly clashing with Sekar's speech. So number one, right? Who is the creator of beauty positive feminism? It's definitely not Judith Butler, right? It's not the first waves of feminism, which I think was also agreed by Sekar. It's mostly a recent growth of feminism that is amplified through the process of media that is instantly becoming democratized. As the world collides and people are able to link one another stronger, it allows beauty to also be exemplified further through different forms of social media that is amplified to showcase, hey, this is how you should look like when you grow. I mean, you are waking up, for example. I'm a plus-sized woman, but my skin looks beautiful because I use product A or product B, for example. Opposition never mechanized as to how then this kind of beauty look like. They only mention beauty brands like Venti, like Bella Hadid, for example, who, by the way, also amplifies this kind of inclusivity beauty, but never actually portrays as to how then that inclusive beauty image looks like. That is internalized through the imageries that comes across through media. How then capitalism is able to manipulate these images to create a beauty positive feminism, an illusion that shackles us all. It looks like how Vogue releasing a feature, for example, of the new IT procedure, buccal fat removal that is subliminally shown in the red carpet, for example, of like your favorite movie star in their brand new premiere, but then framing it as a choice that women can take as a form of ownership towards their bodies while it costing $5 million, for example. Painful procedures of Ozempic injection with no medical side effects that is continuously being shown as hard work of women finally able to own the beauty that is already inside them all along. The positive messages of beauty positive feminism manipulates individuals to taking a choice that is not instantly something that they would want to have because the choice is asymmetric. Insofar as it is capitalistically driven, ensures that women would see that choice more and more and amplifies them with buzzers that say, slay queen, you're so pretty queen, you do you queen, you are my feminist hero. All of these things allows women to not have the perception of fair choice insofar as they are more likely to choose one choice over another because capitalism favors it. Why then this is principally harmful? Two things. One, the intention of the instigators of this movement is not towards equality, but towards profit and revenue. If feminism supports the analysis that there is inherently choice that happens in status quo, that people can do whatever beauty that they want, that's false, right? There's a false choice. Because when capitalism empowers a standard and what kind of beauty it is, you would always have people who are left wanting, people who are just slightly below the standards, right? You can say all you want that, hey, now people are focusing on voluptuous bodies. People are focusing on plus size models. But yeah, check the skin, right? The skin is most likely flawless, pimple free. Yeah, you say that, there's pimple, for example. But yeah, they're tall. They're able to slay the runway with their beautiful looks. Insofar as there will always be a level of standard, we say we reject that. As voice of dissent, feminism needs to criticize all forms of standards to ensure that women are freed from the shackle so that all of Rizky's arguments can fly. So then, this is why it's harmful, because the exclusionary nature of feminism that has standards propelled by capitalism sells a false dream of women who are constantly manipulated to believe that they are now not part of the host who are harmed, not part of those who are marginalized. This is where our movements be fractured. Insofar as movements then need mass to galvanize and move, it disallows people because now this choice feminism would go against cultural feminist who believes that women who fights for women who might be shorter or who fights for women who might not necessarily have the same level of birthright. But the women who are already catered by the standards would say, I don't think that's something that we need to fight for. I don't think I need to care for that. It reduces the efficacy of my movement because you feel like that the movement no longer caters to you. Second, it's harmful because if you say that, okay, the shift would happen even further, right? The shift is already good enough. No, insofar as standards are defined by cultural hegemonies that are existing due to media power and airtime that is currently allocated in our social media and our everyday life and conversation, you would see why then even examples coming from opposition are all westernized. Fenty, Bella Hadid, all of those things. But even if it's not, and this is not an argument that beauty standard is westernized, this is an argument that beauty standards will always follow the ones who are in power. Indonesia's geographical proximity makes sure of FYP to look like, people like I don't know, Alkarin or whatever. If later cultural hegemony shifted towards China, it would more likely look like you need to have double eyelids so that you're able to have beautiful looks. It's unsustainable in a way that's different when we are focusing on other things like character or belajar. My God, English. That would more likely be have a codified method that allows you to fight. The shift towards these voluptuous bodies as beautiful that opposition wants is a result of constant criticism towards what is deemed as right and wrong. That's why feminism needs to constantly criticize so that we're able to constantly attack and shift what is deemed as beautiful. Because yes, capitalism would try to fight, but we need to be here to fight back. Proud to propose.
Thank you, DPM, for that speech. To continue this debate, calling upon DLO, time is yours.
Hi, tes. Am I Hi, am I audible?
Audible.
Visible juga?
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, my papers are here just to avoid the toilet meta. Gue nggak nulis ya. This is just like izin 1 menit aja ke toilet. Is that okay?
Ya,
Emang ke toilet terus lama ya kan pipis ya. Ah, ya elah. Okay, POI just unmute. I'll take one over the 5 minutes. 1 second, arranging my paper. Starting my speech in three. Oh, 1 second. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. First of all, if proposition says that the debate is not about instant impact, that means that opposition wins this debate. Because we could also claim that the status quo may not be all that ideal, but it will be better when there is more options in the future, given the fact that this debate doesn't play on the past, it plays on status quo, it plays on in front. That's why Sakar's point is important, right? Because the point of beauty in opposition is that long by long, beauty will not be dictated by society, not dictated by capitalists, but by yourself and how comfortable by how you look and how confident you can make yourself feel. So if you're short like me, you can use the 1/3 rule that's been popularized in TikTok just to mitigate all of those beauty. What's important may not be you reaching that ideal beauty standard, but it's about how you can make yourself confident. Then so this debate talks about feasibility, right? Which one is easier? About is it easier to break down or not to be beautiful, or you co-opt it in opposition? And that's why on government, the fact that they never mechanize why the criticism will work and being able to change the beauty standard fully means that they not change, destroy the beauty standard fully means that they cannot win the case. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with all of the capitalistic arguments that Justin's POI, Elgard, and Rizky has brought, right? Because the biggest point is about it's being controlled by the capitalists, right? We say no. Number one, because it's promoted in different market standard and segment, right? We're not talking about one huge capitalist or the huge capitalist system, but it's the capitalists who are actually adjusting towards the increasing market size that's currently happening, given the fact that people are becoming much more aware, right? Given the fact that there's also other movement that is criticizing very wide-centric views. For example, this is a result of all of these critics and the result of all of these problems to begin with. Note that capitalism really is only bad if you genuinely have no control over the market. In status quo, it's different. It's women who are dictating the current market and what they want. Exactly why you have boycotts on things like, Zara and all of those other beauty brands that Sekar has already brought. Sorry kalau salah. Because you have to note that Rizky and Elgard is very much cherry picking, right? We're not talking about the worst forms of procedures there is, because that's very segmented and very short time of women. We're only talking about the bigger section of how beauty is very much look like and how it becomes certain context, right? But let's just engage and let's not be dismissive, right? Let's do say that there are the promotion of these worst types of cosmetic procedures and all of those kinds of whatnot. Number one, note that exactly in opposition, it means that women have more control over narrative because they are more confident, that they know that there are a lot of options for them, so they wouldn't want to opt into it so easily. But number two, mechanize the rise, right? Most of the time, this rise means also more information, not only done by capitalists, but then by people on the working class and those people that are most likely also just like you, who may experience the same amounts of this,
You're right.
of not feeling the beauty standards like you at 5th minute. This means that there will be more discourse and more check and balance then that would also help them. And I think this is why it's Sakar's argument about intersectionality is important, right? Because we agree, beauty standard harms all, beauty standards also imposes it to all. For example, that's why we need the working class and the upper class to also want to help you to create and diversify these kinds of massive beauty standards, right? That's why you have massive call-outs against corporations on our side of the house, or even in working class, they will do product reviews in their Insta story, like what all of your girls that are friends do, for example, and tell you what's good or bad products. That's why bad quality wouldn't be done, and that's why there's going to be massive check and balance that would happen in all of this. This means to an extent you cannot run proposition's case because it's stuck on the very 1990s delusion that beauty is all. And you need to question also then, how does in government then they will run their case, right? Most likely if your post will say beauty standards does not matter, it means most likely you're going to also vilify or delegitimize these women's effort that are trying to also beautify themselves, for example. And that's why if you were to talk about this breakup of feminism, it happens on your side even worse then, because you are delegitimizing these women's effort to reclaim agency, and that's even worse than on our side. Elgard.
Your argument is running on the idea that Anika, a woman in Bogor, has power over what is in and out in, beauty. But we've proven the structural analysis as to why capitalistically there's a structure that prevents individuals from having that choice.
That happens in the past. Right now, even if you are cute to your FYP, you can design the FYP too, and how, for example, there will be your friends and other people like influencers that check and balances this corporation so that that's not run. Second, let's talk about more on the principle, right? Why is agency and option important, right? We've already mechanized to you that there are call-outs, there are influences in check and balance. But you need to note that in current context, cultural relevance of feminism is stronger. For example, that number one, that there is already critics from the past about social movement, about women. That's why we gain plus-size model, like what Sekar said. But number two, I think to an extent, this is the reason why we have beauty feminism right now is because of feminists who have worked their butt off, for example, and whatnot, right? This means to an extent, unlike what proposition said, beauty feminism is not an effort to counter feminism, but it is a direct result of what feminism has done in the past, noting that women needs to be empowered, and we agree that one of the ways for them to feel confident and empowered is through legitimizing the fact that we have different bodies and the fact that we have different kinds of options. That's why there are girl boss feminisms that opt into these corporations and try to segment the different products because they realize that they may be plus size. This is the effort of all of those people in the past that has helped them to begin with. And this is important also, right? Because there is going to be an understanding that beauty is subjective and different to everyone because people have different cultural standards, that people have different preferences. That way Sekar's context then allows for the existence of other beauty that are products that are good, that are also helpful and accessible for these women on the past due to its pricing, and you have substitutes, right? The impact is threefold. Number one, it allows women to exercise the agency better, given the fact that they have more options, for example, right? Given the fact that they are the one that are dictating the demand, not only listening to male voices that are telling them to do whatever they want. But number two, which has never been rebutted by proposition, was that this is a way for them to push back against man's historical oppression, that most of the time in the past, you are dictated by men on how you can wear. Now, women can have more options on what they want to wear. If you think that you dress masculinely better, means it suits you more than it does in like dressing up femininely or using makeup lesser is better for you. You can still do it to an extent. And see, this also gives social capital, right? Engaging to prime minister. It means that given the fact that both sides agree that being attracted to beauty is biological, might as well embrace. This allows people to have their confidence better, allows them to be more appealing, given the fact that first looks are important. This allows them to exercise and gain more merit from there. For all of those reasons, we oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, DLO, for that speech. To continue this debate, calling upon government whip, time is yours.
Can I be heard?
Yep.
You are through chat. Let me just wear the cup there. Okay. We refused to do this debate on feasibility. It was not feasible for women to be able to vote. It was not visible for women to become politicians or religious leaders. None of those ever stopped us from pursuing the impossible to protect those who need us the most. If we only settled for what was feasible, no progress would have happened. What we would have needed otherwise, as the opposite, is radical ideas to force society to meet us in the middle to accommodate for our concerns as opposed to settling for less from the start. two things that we push from government to clearly win this debate. The first argument is that beauty standard or beauty in general is unattainable and unequal generally. And secondly is that this classifies and categorizes women into sectors or into sections which are generally harmful. The first push that we gave from Gov is how beauty is unattainable and unequal. What we argued is three things. The first is on company monetization, right? Given that I started from a POI to Sakara, by the way, that the companies alone or beauty product companies alone will be able to dictate what is beautiful and what is not beautiful. And this would subsequently allow for things such as pink taxation or lifelong subscription of Ozempic or like other products that require women to spend more money, for example, in order for them to fix their looks and their appearance while they generally do not need to do so. But also Elgard's argument about about the ever-changing nature of beauty, to the extent that you always need to change and you always need to adapt in accordance with what the industry now thinks is beautiful. Given that obviously the industry does not want a singular beauty standard which never changes, because if the beauty standard never changes, once a certain someone reaches that status of beautiful, then they're not compelled anymore to spend more money on future products. That means that it is in their interest to continue to make the beauty standard evolve in order for them to keep their consumer base. The last thing that they need then, if we really think about it, if beauty standard changes for men, what men need to do is to cut their hair. Women need to do infinitely more in order for them to adapt with the ever-changing beauty standard. And the last thing that they need is the feminists, the organization behind them, telling them that this is a must and that you are supposed to do this. To this, the Hail Mary response from opposition is to claim that there's going to be discourse. What is the interest for discourse? People like to feel beautiful, and that means that middle and upper class people in this economy prefer not to tell the lower class that they are beautiful either way, but that they have to buy the products in order for them to feel beautiful. Even if not men who are propagating this, most times it is women predating on other women. Given that they now claim that they have already achieved the status of being beautiful, that means that they're able to hold the recipe on what you generally need to be beautiful, to the extent that they're able to become like internet guru or influencers or content creators, where they tell other fellow women that I did this and this made me beautiful and you can do that too. So discourse is unlikely to happen. It's not, you cannot just slap discourse as a rebuttal and not explain how the discourse will happen. We tell you that the interest of discourse to begin with is already bad. But also, based on Sekar's own analysis, you understand that the obligation of being beautiful in the capitalism context is not substitute, but additional to other obligations to become smart, to become successful, to become socially acceptable. Because if you are beautiful only, your face cannot probably pay your bills. There will always be a double jeopardy in relation to women in the capitalistic context. Our counterfactual is much more attainable. Where everyone has equal playing field and equal starting points, to the extent that you can study to get your merit, you can generally build your career to become successful. But even if you do not buy that, note that in op, you still have to pursue all those while also maintaining a steady diet as in Ozempic and going to like your or your doctor every once in a while, given that you have to do treatment on your skin. But finally is the argument of choice. I really don't think this argument is good. The reason is three things. The first is because choice requires information, and information in opposition is limited due to echoes, because not only that the public tells them that they have to be beautiful, feminists also tells them that they have to be beautiful. So to the extent that they probably will given that feminist voices are probably much lower, given that they are much smaller compared to like bigger cosmetics companies who are widely supported by like conglomerates, I really think that the bigger voice is going to be more heard. This is where the argument of cognitive dissonance and the cognitive voice of dissent is crucial, because you're enabling two sides of information. Because the general public will tell you that beauty is important and this is standard of beauty, feminism will tell you that you don't need to comply with any standard of beauty at all, because beauty will not generally matter. So this enables more choice, and it enables more safe space for people who would claim that some people might say, you know what, I don't really care about this beauty shit. Like I probably am much more comfortable in my own skin. So you now have an access to do that, as opposed to getting in a singular and overarching narrative that beauty is generally important. In fact, due to company monetization and cult of personality, you have even less choice, because those who are the most successful are the ones who are the most acceptable by the public, to the extent that beauty standard will probably still exist and will probably be much more rampant in their side. Speaking of beauty standard, by the way, and I think this is very important, why is beauty inherently classifying and categorizing women? The first is because of external validation, because you need visual validation from other people in order for you to feel beautiful. They claim that you can feel confident and you can feel empowered. Confidence and empowerment will only depend on individual, do not depend on individual feelings, but people telling us that you look beautiful. If you prepare yourself, but no one calls you beautiful, or sometimes they even claim that your makeup looks weird, sounds and that feels much worse compared to not caring about beauty at all. Because then the way people evaluate you, the way people review you, you as a person, is not based on what you present outside, but on other things that may be more attainable. Speaking of beauty standard, I think even if the beauty standard is first of all, obviously their beauty standard from their own examples are very westernized. But even if you choose to not acknowledge that, I think beauty, the general consensus is that beauty cannot exist without ugliness. In order for you to call someone beautiful, you need to have a benchmark on what is considered beautiful and what is not considered beautiful. So even if the beauty standard changes, evolves, prefers one like a skin tone or prefers one appearance over another, there will always be another person or a lot of other persons in the other side of the spectrum who need to be called ugly in order for you to call other people beautiful. So some people will always still be classified as ugly. So you don't need to say in op that feminists wants to call people as ugly. It is a natural byproduct of calling people beautiful, of achieving or trying to attain the status of being beautiful. What happens in counterfactual, in our side of the house, we shift the midpoint, because if you do if your advocacy is on the far end of the spectrum where you say that no beauty matters at all, that means that you force a society to compromise to meet in the middle, as opposed to already settling to compromise with them from the start, to the extent that you're unable to protect your own constituents. You leave them to being called ugly by a lot of these company monetization and stuff like that. We really don't think that's something that is justified. For all these reasons.
Thank you, Government Whip, for that speech. To continue this debate, calling upon opposition whip, time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yep, audible.
Okay. Wait. I'm just drinking. If you're on the POI, you can raise hand or through chat. I'm worried I can't hear you. Because it's kind of echoey. Starting my speech. 3, 2, 1. When feminist empowerment is also empowering women's confidence, where this is the main focus on whether the rise should be supported or opposed. That's why there's only one major clash in this debate on what this rise actually means to women, as they are the most important thing in this debate. But let's break down 2 deadlocks that happened up until this far. I think it's quite unfortunate that government team hasn't been very charitable. First, on what beauty positive feminism actually looks like, right? That it's run by women, literally written in the context like that this is a feminist movement. So please disregard all of their claims saying that, oh, it's men dictated, oh, it's appeasing men, because we are not, again, from very get-go, from Sakar's speech, we've already mentioned, we are not trying to reverse back to the 1990s and say that, oh, all women have to use skinny corsets and white face makeup, right? Because if that's government's goal and literally all of their case, then obviously it's harmful. But we've already told you the difference on our side, that the target is now to give confidence to women. The same tools that was once used to cage women and subject them to certain standards is now used to empower them. That's going to be the difference that we've carried on between the 3 speakers. And this is why this is already an important thing that I think as a chair you need to encourage. But the second deadlock I'm going to break away is that this shifts away focus from other feminism. That's literally not how social movement works. There's multiple layers of feminism, of girl boss and choice feminism and everything that can exist at the same time. It does not mean that us focusing on a little bit of makeup means that we forget all of women's rights and whatsoever. Don't take into that point. Let's talk about this clash on what this rise means towards women and how I can prove that if it's beneficial, government fails to oppose this under 4 engagement. first engagement, their only problem right now is that, oh, beauty standards are so problematic. So to the extent where government team does agree, all of the problematic things about beauty norms and beauty standards exist right now is exactly the justification you need to support the rise. To support the rise of not only an increase of quantity, but an increase of quality of options, the diversification of procedures and choices that you can have. So right now, I really do agree to an extent to government side that it is a very uninclusive option that is dictated by men. This is why my POI matters so much from the very beginning to PM, that do you think this is run by men? And the clear answer of something literally called body positivity feminism is not run by men, right? The delta then is how this is defined by women, how this is a feminist movement. Hence, all those male-centric fear to be ugly are already minimized on our side. That's why things such as made by women like Fenty never shows how ugly is bad. It shows the advertisement is an array of women of different skin colors and skin types arranged and showing how they can be confident in themselves, right? So this is why all the issues Elgard brought about, the POI on like, there's grassroots people being subjected to certain body types of someone in Bogor. We think Bogor beauty trends exist in and of itself. And this have existed beyond even like certain regions and everything. And guess what? This is caused by the rise. That's why there's two ways to approach Elgard's shop list of problematic beauty standards. The first way to approach this is that this is not all that is. I think Kevin has made that very clear on how the only list of things mentioned by Elgard and the entirety of Gov Bench is that, there's Ozempic and buccal fat removal, but ignores plus size fitness regimes and dresses for women with accessibility issues, right? That's why the rise has never been only about quantity, but quality themselves. So we're going to bite the bullet that yes, bad options exist, bad procedures exist, but so do good ones. And these options and diversification happens. But so otherwise on their side, when they oppose the rise, when they stay in status quo, all those bad options have nothing to counter them, have no other alternative that women can choose from. So yeah, a woman opening a magazine will only see buccal fat removal. But on our side, yes, there's one page of buccal fat removal. And when you flip to the next page, it's like, how you can still stay fit even if you're a plus size person. And it's very important that this has never been engaged by the entirety of the government bench. But the second way I want to tackle this point is by supporting the rise. You can agree that the alternatives do sucks, that these options do actually exist, because the rise has been going on since the 2010s up until now. So that's why no longer things will focus on skinny Victoria's Secret options, but how the rise is actually able to have bad options to be removed to begin with, right? That's why people are now all better aware of choices. That's why Fenty Beauty is more important than Makeup Forever, a brand that was popular in 2010 because they've only given you the option of white options, right? Second thing I'm going to talk about, all the benefits of deconstructing beauty standards cannot stand on their side. Why? You cannot replace appearance. You cannot replace seeing and a physical appearance quality with things such as merit, with things such as inner qualities, because that's a counter narrative on their side, right? You don't need to be focusing on like how you of how you look, but you can focus about what you feel in the inside. But that literally doesn't make sense, because whether you like it or not, this is not apple to apple. You cannot exchange merit with you can exchange appearance with merit, because that's two separate things. So on the important aspect of what qualities a woman can improve themselves within, such as merit, intelligence, and competence, beauty is just another part of it, and this tool should be given to you. That's why it doesn't make sense when they say that, on our side, unconfident women will be much better, when you tell them no, they're still unconfident on your side. The difference is you say, now you can be unconfident, but you have a bachelor's degree. On our side, you are unconfident, you have all of these tools to help yourself make better. We're the one actually giving the solutions. I'll take Elgard.
This argument is cherry picking, right? Because you say, Fenty is good because it's inclusive. We're saying Fenty and Makeup for Beauty are both equally bad because your confidence needs to source from other things outside of just your beauty. So you're not confident and you become confident because of other
time's up, by the way. It doesn't make sense then when you say that, women are unconfident, but you do not give them any alternative. Regardless whether you like it or not, women are unconfident. When we telling them like you have to look good. But if the option exists for you to be able to, wear a little bit of lip tint to make yourself feel brighter, because whether you like it or not, society sees you first before they hear you speak. Society sees you first before they open your CV and list how many achievements and bachelor's degree that you have. And this is so important. That's why it's never apple to apple when we say, oh, we can obstruct women's unconfidence by giving them options to get a bachelor's degree. That's literally not the solution when women do not have. That's why there's no alternative on their side. They're just making women feel even more unconfident, that you say, oh, you feel unconfident, then just suck it up, because that's the alternative on their side that's significantly much worse. That's why discourses have now been more apparent on our side more than ever, that you do not only have to take these options. So for me, I can opt into Chindo discourse. That's good for me as a Chindo. They're back. Wait.
Hello, so sorry for my connection problem. So basically, I'm out from the Zoom when Ariel still has 10 seconds. And the
10
last
seconds.
and the last point Ariel mentioned is about Indo discourse.
Can I use the 10 seconds?
Can you continue the last 10 seconds?
Sisa 10 detik. Jadi timer di kamu itu 7:05 gitu ya?
7:10.
7:10. Okay. I made like a point in the 10 seconds. So after the Chindo discourse, bentar aku set timer bentar.
Okay.
Tapi audible ya sekarang, Sen?
Yep.
Okay. So restarting my speech in 3, 2, 1. And final and quick engagement. I don't get why the conclusion of the entire golf bench is, oh, men do not have these standards. I think it's good if we're able to widen the options to the extent it's able to include men as well. But in the end, this debate should be made for women. Thank you.
Okay, thank you opposition for that speech. To close the debate from the opposition bench, calling upon reply speaker of opposition.
Okay. All right, starting. Sorry, that I'm gonna do. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. It's super unfair that government compares lots of things in a not apple to apple manner. First of all, they compare individual power over mega companies, saying that some random girl in Bogor cannot dictate what let's say Paragon is going to launch next week, and also what type of complexion can the specific brand launches, for example. It is a collective movement, it is something that affects billions. So what you need to assess is not an individual power per se to criticize the mega structured company, also the collective effort of these individuals to call out if those products don't actually meet their needs, or if those products are actually not inclusive enough. So the comparison should be on the power of these billions of women to dictate the corporations, to dictate the market, to suit their needs, on what products to launch. And this is what Kevin has beautifully explained, right? I think it's been very unfair that that government team has cherry picked so many examples and also compare all of our analysis with something that is, one, either out of the scope, or two, it's not even in the in similar level of urgency. It's unfair that beauty is apple to apple with women's right to vote. And we even question, does this mean they're implying that, oh, women putting some makeup on means that it backtracks the suffragette movement? I don't think it's that deep. I don't think it's actually that level of I don't think it reaches that level, right? What we're trying to say is that now that women have enjoyed all of the results of their previous fights to claim body positivity, their previous fights to claim choices on workplaces, choices upon so many areas of the world in their life, for example. Even though there are still some flaws, there are still some structural issues that were not solved, the least we can provide them is the tool to feel confident about themselves. It's the list of beauty products, fashions, or whatever to make them feel slightly better about themselves. Because we have told you, right? These are the types of issues that are super, super intersectional. These ties women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, those in the middle class, or those in the, influencer upper class level, it unites them. So that what galvanizes this market this market power to dictate the capitalistic industry that you hated so much anyways, right? So it's untrue that women are so stuck in this super controlled world where they have no idea or like have no control about what they can choose and not choose. If they want to problematize the worst possible type of beauty positive. So government mainly talks about poorly implemented beauty positive narrative, right? So if that's so, you also have to defend the worst types of merit emphasis narrative. It means labeling less academically gifted women as bimbo. It means shoving down other women to get promotion. It means you should be as unattractive and as stereotypically nerdy as possible to be validated as a real big thing or like a real smart woman, in which these are the things that women do not want to be pigeonholed on, right? We have dealt with their push on cosmetic procedures because now, exactly, sure, with these bad options, it comes with greater options as well. In which these great options, these more accessible makeup products and whatnot that Ada has explained to you, is what counter and neutralize all of these selected bad options. Which, by the way, cosmetic procedures are like super expensive. I don't think any average 20-something women would consider that, especially if they want to look up to like Oscar worthy celebrities. Like, I don't think these women are like that delusional and that uneducated to actually put that as a benchmark instead of seeing what's most affordable to them. We have dealt with this push. So why is even sourcing your confidence to beauty is bad, right? Because government also never like compare why beauty as a quality is like irredeemably worse than intelligence or like characters, because it's equally as internal, it's equally as sustainable, and it's equally as judged by other people, right? So we don't understand why this hostility actually came from. So I don't think women, by having these beauty positives, are succumbing into the capitalistic nature, and also are so out of control in their way of choosing what's right and what's wrong for them. I don't think it has to come at the expense of making women so unattractive just for the sake of supporting a goal that was long time ago been accomplished. Very proud to oppose.
Thank you, Reply Speaker of Opposition, for that speech. To close this debate, calling upon Reply Speaker of Government.
Hi, am I audible?
Yep, audible.
Okay. Right now. Without further ado, I just want to nail the coffin on 3 points for opposition. Number one is on the idea of amplification of standards, because they told you that, oh yeah, this is for us to reclaim our standards because back then we've been oppressed, and that this movement is run by women. Number one, I think this does not negate any such sort of idea in regards to how the polarization of the meaning of beautiful still exists, right? Because we think the argument in regards to how people will have to feel ugly, to feel beautiful still stands up until the end. Like there's an idea of what pretty and what ugly is in order for you to move towards what beautifying yourself and or attempting to feel beautiful. So even when this is like women imposed, we think that this is still unjustified because you need to constantly criticize yourself, and it's women criticizing you for feeling not beautiful enough, and that's why you need to be able to to feel beautiful, and you make yourself feel bad. But number two, I think even if this is true, I don't understand why in the process of reclaiming standards and understanding that this movement is run by women, women themselves cannot be capitalists and control your FYPs. Like insofar as there are a lot of women working in corporations and on the higher ups thinking that they can weaponize, for example, this narratives precisely because they have the mindset that, beauty is something that you can weaponize upon against women who do not have the access to access beauty or have birth lottery. This is exactly why most likely they're able to weaponize or act upon it. Like if they consider the fact that there are working class attempting to criticize these systems, meaning these still can still be run by capitalist women, right? We don't understand why this has been amplified by Elgard and Justin. But number two, let's talk about confidence, right? They told you that women can only feel good about themselves when they get beautiful compliments in the middle of a patriarchal society. One, this is very evil to say, like extremely evil to say when women can only be confident after receiving this compliment, can only be confident after receiving this compliment. Like we all know well that a lot of other things can be something that you can be proud about, but this also means that their empower argument does not make any logical link when they say that, oh yeah, you actually hinge upon other people and you hinge upon society because they told you that, hey, it's women run. So if it's women run movements that can result into you making yourself feel hurt and guilt tripped by society that you are not beautiful enough, this is still adding a lot of pressure. This is exactly why we told you that the shift should change, that there should not be any valuation towards beauty, or if there is any valuation towards beauty, we don't think that the standard should be this. Exactly because you're constantly guilt tripping yourself and making yourself feel bad, and you're still imposing yourself not on the standards of the movement, but still on society as what opposition whip tries to push to debate. But even then, even when it's not, right, second layer, we think that the fight in government is still fair. Like we still have attainable merits that we can compete against that is still fairly more accessible and still more equal, like all men and women can actually get it. On their end, it is beauty plus any other things. Again, they do not consent to being born in their own bodies. It is still very evil to dictate people of a higher standard when they grow up, when they grow to become young women, for example, in society. So when you tell them that you have to be beautiful on top of everything else, this is still a double standard. This does not take away, even when there is thousands of access to do this, this is still unfair. But lastly, let's talk about diversification. Like they told you that working class can diversify the beauty standards and do product reviews. So this is check and balance. And they told you that your FYP can diversify and make your standards unique. One, this is where the likelihood analysis does not make sense. Capitalism is a structure that isn't shaken when they're the one controlling your FYP, that people are being paid to be affiliates by these same companies to tell you that there's a brightening cream that's good enough and mercury free. This is still an oppression of power that Elgard told you in the speech, right? So the process in which like there is a systematic structure, that there are actually people within the working class that's going to go against you because they're the ones affiliates standing for the company. This still makes a lot of sense as what my previous speakers already told you. But secondly, this is highly assumptive. What makes you think that they don't want to be Bella Hadid? Like people in Bogor does not have their own beauty branch when opposition claims that they have an interconnected FYP to criticize capitalism, because it doesn't make sense. That doesn't go hand in hand. But people know who Bella Hadid then is. So this hinges on the fact that people really want to be ultra critical of the procedures in which they haven't proven to you the feasibility, but they've never also told you why the criticism is going to be massive, since there's a constant overvaluation and glorification of beauty. We think we win.